Starting to the bottom right, well actually to the right side of the map, is in the red, the Protoss player. Starting for LGIM, once again, it is
LGIM first.
Great game on map number 2, but he's facing a strong opponent.
I love that E-tap on the probe, man. He's making it. He's making those probes.
Starting to the left side, we have his opponent with the color blue, starting as a Terran player, starting... well, I don't know, it's...
CJM to Bbyong.
I actually was about to say something about the factory that I really liked in the last game. I liked this move where he just plays down the factory, started producing Hellions, and forced his opponent to just do something about it. Not only because those mineral patches were blocked off, but because it was already a threat to his workers. So it's actually pretty cool.
I'm just thinking about the first shot where he just was like pressing that E key so deliberately. That was all he was pressing on his keyboard. He's a guy like my economy. E for probes. Ooh, gas again. For Bbyong, he's going for potentially one base play twice in a row. Obviously he expanded last game, but it was a one base opener.
You know what that reminded me of with E-Key, and when you said he only presses one key? The thing is, at the GOM house, Naniwa just recently was playing one game off race, and he was playing Zerg, and I watched the game, and I looked at what he did against the Terran player, and Naniwa, you don't have enough drones. So he has like a ton of lava, you know, and he has the minerals, so he looks at me, he holds the D button, and he's looking at me, no I'm not. No, I don't. He built like 30 of them, I don't know, and he was like, Zerg too easy. That's a little bit like how first looked, just pressing this one button, it's exactly the same. First, well, you don't have enough harvesters. Yeah, I'm trying!
I will link that clip to somebody who doesn't make enough probes, like someone I'm coaching, for example. I'll just send them that and be like, this is what you need to do more often. The depot block is so important here, by the way, because first doesn't know what type of build his opponent's facing. Antigua is a great map for 1-Rex to spam, but it's also a great map for these types of pushes, because if you control the watchtower, it's hard to fight as a Protoss there, and if you can control the bottom of the ramp at the natural as well, it can be difficult. Plus, there's a lot of siege up points in the main base where if you get your siege tanks on the edge, and this is exactly why First is keeping this probe around right now, because he's like, alright, you could be making your command center in your main, but that is a fact that's a little bit unlikely. And so he's got a little bit more information here. He will lose the probe potentially.
Probe and Marine just playing hide and seek here, and with the second Marine already moving out, I think the probe, yes, is going... Oh! Wow. That's one lucky probe.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm this probe, the first thing that I'm going to do right now, I'm going to the ADM, I withdraw all my money, I go to the casino, and I'm getting rich, son. That probe is just won the lottery.
That probe... That probe. Well, he's actually, his idea of fun here is checking to make sure there's no hidden proxy, because that location the probe checked at the 3 o'clock expansion is exactly where you would hide a factory and or starport to put Banshees or Hellion drops in the main. He's actually going to run by here. No, he's not. I thought he would try to take that damage and run by to see if there's a command center, but he did not.
Me too. When you see a Stalker and a Zealot walking up a ramp, usually you really try to sacrifice the Stalker. Most Protoss players will in order to see if there's really a command center, but he doesn't. So right now, the idea is sold. He thinks that there's going to be an expansion by his opponent, at least for now, up to the point where the Banshee is going to hit his base.
And this SCV actually with 5 hit points just barely dodged the sentry, got in and saw everything. He saw that it's double gates before Robo, which is going to make him happy with the Siege Tank Banshee build he's going for.
He's even moving out and trying to catch his opponent off guard, but First is on top of his game, sees the Marines on the minimap, reacts in time, holds the Stalker back, does not lose his unit. And while we have the first Banshee now being built and rallied across the map, at the same time we have Bbyong building the first siege tank, and actually the rally point for the Banshee is not his opponent's base, he rallied it straight towards his own base.
He wants to hide it this time.
Yeah.
And this time he's not getting cloaked. This time he's not going to be using this Banshee for purely harassment. If he finds himself at a stalemate where he cannot break up the ramp, then he uses the Banshee. That's when he puts the Banshee to try to pull the Stalkers back. Now he's getting a Raven. This is going to be for point defense drone to stop his opponent's Stalker shots. This is a great choice because he knows his opponent's robotics is late.
He sees the Banshee, he positions one pylon, and, well, Bbyong, he sees it, but at the same time, of course, his Banshee was also spotted, so now he knows that he has to prepare. He's chrono boosting the first observer, the pilot, it is gone.
He cancelled the Twilight Council as a result as well. This is a pretty smart choice. But his opponent knows. Bbyong knows the Robo was late. It's very unlikely he deals with Colossi. He's going to be dealing with a force that's relatively Stalker heavy. That's why I like that Raven even more. This is going to be really hard for First to hold. He is continuing probes. He wants just a few more. And he doesn't have the gases natural, so he doesn't want to make that robotic support bay.
The question is how many probes will First build, because at this point he already has 38. He is still producing probes, and I'm not quite sure if he realized that there's a one-base play. He has to cut probes if he really knows that there is just a one-base play by his opponent in order to defend, but he is still continuing production.
Yeah, and he doesn't know if Cloak is part of the picture or not yet either, so he's keeping an observer home rather than making an immortal, because he doesn't know if he's dealing with siege tanks. He's got to make sure he's got enough observers out. Now he's going to fly in the main base. He will lose his observer because the Raven is here, but he knows what's going on now.
Yeah, he knows what's going on, and he should stop producing probes right now, and he does. He's building the first immortal. He already has 44 harvesters, more than he wanted to, but at least now he stops. But he's got too much.
He's got enough harvesters to where this base is really paying off. When you make this many harvesters riskily because you're not sure what's going on, but Bbyong, for example, delays the push, then First is actually going to do a dance in his base every second that goes by that Bbyong does not attack him. He's getting more and more money.
And this is, of course, the cue for Bbyong to move out now. Another gateway has been started. Siege mode also on its way. Another Banshee, more Marines. And Bbyong really needs to start attacking.
He's pulling the SCVs.
Every SCV. There are only how many left? 4 or 5. That's all that he's got in his main base. And right now he's crawling across the map with his force. Will First be ready? He continued his pro production. He has the first 2 immortals. Does he have enough units? The army supply is 54 against 38 in favor of the Terran player.
This is a really, really tough position for First. He needs to use every Chrono Boost he has on every single gateway that he has available to him to Chrono Boost, because this push is so scary. The Banshees alone, if he kills those Stalkers, he does not have enough anti-air.
Yeah, exactly, there are only 4 Stalkers.
And he's got point defense drone, Calor. I don't think he can hold this with the Stalkers he has. He needs more.
He definitely needs more Stalkers. You're so right, Wolf.
He's making Zealots. He's making Zealots, man, and he's got enough gas to make the Stalkers. He's afraid of the siege tanks and the point defense drone.
As soon as the point defense drone hits and the Banshees move in, he'll be done for. It's not only those 3, he has a 4th Banshee and he's building a 5th. The Stalkers, they are nearly gone. Even if he warps in right now, it won't be enough. This is not enough, Wolf.
The sentries are trying to target down, but the Marines are doing too much damage. The SCVs tank for just a second, but that's all he needs. 1 tank falls, but the second one will not. The Immortals, actually another Immortal pops out and he will take the tank out, but there's no answer for the Banshees, not at all.
The Banshees are still there. Everything is gone for First. He's down to 57 supply. There are still Marines available for Bbyong, who uses his mules to keep his production up. He's moving in right now with Marines, with those Banshees. He has still enough of them. He has 3 Banshees left. The Antia is just now being warped in. Is it going to be enough? I actually don't think so. This is so close. The Marines shred all the probes to pieces. And now the Stalker dies.
And he's got enough energy for another point defense drone now. That last Stalker will die.
The Marines are in the main base. They are in the main base. They're taking down the Harvesters and they force them off the mineral patches as well. This is so close. The Stalkers warped in. Now have to deal with the Marines and of course also with those Banshees. The Harvester count right now is actually 11 for Bbyong. 11 SCVs against 18 drones. But look at how many units are here. Still 2 Banshees available to the first Terran player.
Yeah, he could just fly around this point defense drone all day long. That point defense drone with 200 energy to spare. It's going to take forever for that to die. I don't think it will ever will.
This is it.
This is it.
The Caspar player will advance here. First is down to 10 supply. He's losing everything. And Bbyong is the player who's going to advance to the second round of Code A. He has secured himself at least a spot in the up and downs today.
And excellent play from him so far. Just really outplaying his opponent here in game number 2. First, with limited information, took some risks. GG.
GG. This is game over. First, indeed, he built too many Harvesters. He was not exactly sure what was going on.
And not enough Stalkers, you know? This is actually, every pro will tell you this is the most difficult thing about holding this push. Obviously, there's probes to build, whether or not you make the choice to get Colossi. But one thing that's really important is your ratio of Zealots to Stalkers when you skip the Robotic Support Bay. If you make too few Zealots, then you don't have any way to deal with the SCVs and the Siege Tanks. But if you make too many Zealots, then you don't have enough to deal with the Banshees. It's very difficult to deal with.
The problem for First was that he did not know exactly what was going on. At first he was mid-led to believe that there was actually a second base for his opponent, and then he detected there was a one-base play at a point in time when he actually already had a lot of drones, and he could not really delay the push.
Yeah.
Then he realized, oh wow, there are actually a lot more Banshees than I thought. There are not as many tanks as I assumed, but there are way more Banshees. I don't have the Stalkers, and he couldn't really warp them in anymore. The first round of warp-ins was actually pure Zealots, and then he saw that there were so many Banshees. He tried to make it work, but it was just so difficult for him to pull it off.
It's so crucial to have about 2-to-1 Stalker to Banshee ratio when there are siege tanks in the mix, because some of your Stalkers are just inevitably going to die before they can take the Banshees out. And he should have, I feel, pulled back, taken some hits on his Nexus, for example, allow those SCVs to sit around not mining, warp in a few Stalkers. But that's a tough choice to make, and even if he does that, the Banshees aren't going to sit around. He's got a Raven with almost 2-point defense drones. He's just going to drop it down and start fighting your Stalkers right away. Even if you warp in more Stalkers, the Marines come in. That was a really tough decision to have to make. And First decided no Colossi, making the extra probes, and he just couldn't deal with it all.
Very hard for First to pull it off. In the end, it proved to be impossible. Bbyong takes the game number 3 and is therefore now in the second round of Code A. He is the first player that was able to qualify for Code A through the qualifiers to advance. It's also the first Caspar player who was able to qualify for the second round of Code A. And guys, we have one match left for you today. We have finale, MVP finale up against Bbyong. The game that we are watching just after a 5-minute break, the last best of 3 for the day. So stay tuned for another Protoss vs. Zerg.